Hello, I'm Verdi Arbusto, and this is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for being here. And this is Friedman Freund, Freund, and I know I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, but that's the best I can do. This is going to be a kind of a special dedication to the life of research or the life in research of this most excellent, noted professional uh, who has done a quite a bit of work on research that is loosely related to Schumann resonances, and it is directly related to associated atmospheric electromagnetics. As I say, the lower DC circuit is the Earth ground, and so that is what you would call, or what I would call, the Earth's heartbeat. Is the telluric currents of the planet itself, the lower DC current. So this gentleman here, this researcher and his team, have a number of articles where he talks about uh, Earth electricity and the conductivity in the rocks. One of which I have, one of his articles, I have made a video out of. So I have made a video out of one of his research, and I'll show you the video that I did. But this is dedicated to a lot of his research, a life of research, basically, and the cows, which we'll explain in a little bit. And I think that I just thought this would be a fun type of a video that would like look at this guy's research, even though it's very technical. I pulled out a few things that are less technical than the others. Um, and so I wanted to do it. This will be two parts. So I think it'll be two separate videos. Maybe I'll stitch together, and I'll run them all one time at a premiere or whatever. I don't know, but it'll be two parts. It's long enough to do two parts, and especially when I jabber on and on about stuff, uh, going off script, not necessarily off topic, but off script. All right. So, as I've said before, I keep to a script to keep concise, and keep down the amount of extraneous stuff that I talk about, so I don't get distracted and I don't go off in some tangent and I get lost. I want to stick to the script as much as possible so that I can move the narrative along, and cover everything I need to within a reasonable amount of time. And I think that's a reasonable thing for me to do as a video content producer. Um, so I'm gonna be kind of sparing with the music. I think I want this more to be technical, but there's a lot of hardcore technical stuff in here, so there's gonna be some music. Um, there kind of has to be in this hardcore technical stuff. Okay, so with that said, first, if thank you for being here. If you're new, welcome. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and please hit the notification bell and select all, or you are likely to get none of the notifications. It's just kind of the algorithm. You have to be fully engaged in the program. Plus, it's also the best way for you to get regular updates. A lot of people complain they don't get the notifications and this and that. And if you interact with the channel, often enough, you will usually get the notifications. You'll see them. That said, notifications come late. So it's best for you to check in with the channel anyway, to see what's going on. Right? Maybe there's some stuff over there in the community section that might be interesting to you as well. Right? I post a lot of interesting posts that are more of me personally, and that I think are entertaining or whatever, that are not necessarily the hardcore technical stuff of the videos of the YouTube content. Um, the last premiere I did on the prayer and miracle, I was absent from my own premiere, and I apologize for that. It gets difficult to spend a lot of time, as much time as I need to not only research, but then to make the video, and then also to be there as well, and through all that, and then to also do my regular life as well. So we're working on this. Um, these the little daisies. There we go. Those are from work. I clipped those because I'm it said time to clip them, and so I just wanted to have those as part of the fun celebration for Professor Freund. I think he is a doctor. I'm not altogether certain, but I believe it's not inappropriate to call him doctor. I certainly, with that many publications, guy deserves it. He's one shy of the magic trifecta of 333. He's got more stuff in the works anyway. All right, so this guy here, basically, he's got. I don't have a lot of background information on the guy, and I'm not sure how much I really need, because we're looking at his, the research that he's published. All right, so, but basically, he is the NASA Ames Research Center Earth Sciences Division Emeritus, 332 publications. Skills and expertise include spectrometry, environment, whatever that is, tectonics, material characterization, not sure what that is, materials, organic synthesis, geological mapping, X-ray diffraction, thin films and nanotechnology, and nanomaterials. I don't know what all that is, but it sounds like it took a lot of education to kind of figure out what you're doing with that. January 1988 to present, the SETI Institute, Carl Sagan Center, Mountain View, United States, position principal investigator. Okay, so these are under his. He has also authored a lot of papers as well. Now, I want to say this. I mentioned this before about the research relative to Schumann resonances, and I think I want to take a little bit of time and explain kind of the whole research game and sort of what's going on, because a lot of people aren't familiar with that. And I've done enough research, and I've been to a few of these conferences, related sort of similar conferences, that I know generally speaking what's going on. I research, and you have to understand that researchers get a lot of grant money. Scientists get a lot of grant money from a number of places, and so they need to publish their results. They're working for the public at large, and that's sort of the good way to think of it. Even if that phrase, the public, is a narrow subset of the general public, we are talking about research, we're talking about scientific, we're talking about maybe technical applications in some fields, whatever you have, in the commercial venture. All right. But certainly the researchers get paid, so to speak, when they're published. They get royalties whenever they're, first and foremost, they get royalties whenever something that they submitted, it's published. Plus, they also have the prestige of having published something under their name. All right. So there's any number of ways. You'll see that a lot of these papers have multiple, two or more people. And so there's any number of ways that people can team up for these research papers. There are symposiums that are given on location in various places that a team gets assembled from around the world from various places, and they all meet together in the central location with their research. They come together with notes. They prepare a lecture, and then they give a lecture. One of them, the keynote speaker, will be the one with the most interest in it. But they also give, usually the other people will be there in the audience giving, whatever support they need to give, at the time of the lecture. So they get paid because the symposiums are, there's a ticket. And so the lecturers get paid from lecturing. Okay. And the team gets a stipend from being there. Plus, again, they get the notoriety of having been in a keynote speaker. All right. So what will also happen is there will be visiting scholars that come to the institute that a professor is at, is tenured at, and they come and visit. They use the lab. So in order to, in exchange for that, when they publish, they have to give the lead scientist's name on the credits. And a lot of times they do actually help. So it's not just a name only, but they actually a lot of times fundamental in the research. And in many cases, they would include a well-known researcher in there to get, for the chops of having already been published. And they rely on his academic credentials to help them get their work published. Sometimes like this guy knows a lot about stuff, so he would be a principal, he would be a team member in there, and be like a one for one, a partnership. There's equal they two scientists in there don't have exactly the same field. They're, as we say, cross platform, and so they're working in a collaboration. They both have their expertise, but in what they're doing, they need each other's resources and each other's experience. So the two go hand in hand. That'll be like an equal partnership. There will also be the type of relationships where, say, the visiting scientists, they have a large body of the research already done. They have a lot of, the preliminary data, the numbers are crunched, but they need computer time to run simulations or models or whatever. And so the scientist that's over there says, yeah, we'll do that. All right. And then there are the cases where, say, this professor here, for example, here's just for an example, would be called in to do an error check type of thing, a proofread, like a last minute check to make sure that everything is all working out before they send it in for publication. So he's like the last, step before they submit it for publication. And if this guy gives it okay, it's almost an automatic that it'll get published. This guy worked, he went through all the numbers and, the research, the equations, and he said it was good. So, it'll give that added credibility to publish it, quicker without having to go back and rewrite, do corrections. All right. So there's any number of those. So that's a number of scenarios where, you have these teams that work, you have on some of this research, you have like 20 names that are given up there. Like, wow, it's a big team. And they all play different parts. And sometimes there's an error checking in a certain subsection of astrophysics or whatever that needs certain specialists. And there's a team there, 5 of them. And, like, all right. So just to check one section, one fact, they got 5 people get their name put up there. So these are sort of how it is. Everyone that gets put up there gets a songwriter credit, so you all get paid in some way. Just so you know. All right, so these are all different ways that researchers kind of contact one another and get together and share notes and publish everything. All right. So without knowing more about him, let me kind of just read over through some of his work. All right. I'm not gonna read too much into any individual thing. I'm just gonna kind of take you through some of this guy's work and who he's worked with. So sulfur chemistry may have paved the way for evolution of antioxidants. All right. So with Anna Newbeck and Freidemann. This one, examination of a relationship between atmospheric blocking and seismic events in the Middle East using a new seismo climatic index. This was August 2013. And see, it shows you this is an article, conference paper here. Co-seismic Earthquake lights, the underlying mechanism. Okay, earthquake lights, all right. Uh, Reactive sulfur species in the in the early Earth environment. Earthquake chemical precursors in groundwater, a review. Earthquake chemical precursors in groundwater review. Geomagnetic KP index in earthquakes. With Nobuo Urata, um, Gerald Duma, and Freidemann Freund. This was an article in January 2000. Um, Earthquake precursors in the light of paroxy defects theory, critical review of systematic observations. All right, so this is just an introduction, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at, and so here's more of this was all right. First up. All right, so this is ResearchGate. Okay, this is one of the places he has his stuff. At ResearchGate, he has 332 publications. At this outlet, when I talk about a clearinghouse, a publication clearinghouse, I don't know if you can hear the in the background. Someone is burning food, I think. I'm going to pause this while I figure this out. Okay, all right. Just the heat detector. All right, so when I talk about, I forgot exactly where I was at, but when I talk about um, clearinghouse, a publication clearinghouse, this is one of those publication clearinghouses. Um, I don't have a you need to have academic credentials to get a free updates from these guys. Okay. However, I do come across their research from, through the things. So, it's you can get access. You don't just get you don't get regular updates from them as I do from academia.edu, sorry, um, which is a different clearinghouse. They're free just for asking. All right. So I know there's a few other people. Ricky Spence, we talked about this. I think she has a thing to ResearchGate, if I remember correctly. Um, but other people get subscriptions to these services. I know Dr. Ben from Suspicious Observer, he's always getting, showing the new research. Um, so that's how I get, I want to stay informed. So they're regularly, every day, I get at least a dozen updates, emails with the I can't say it's the latest research because some of it's from like 2009, but it will be stuff that I haven't seen, and not everything is interesting, and some of it's just way too beyond me. Uh, but there is some of it that's right within the ballpark, as in the wheelhouse, as it were. And so this guy, Dr. Freund, has a lot of research that I have looked at relative to pre-seismic events. He's done a lot of research on pre-seismic event precursors. All right, and so that's sort of what this video is dedicated toward as well. Is the gentleman who has made his life, his research, based on atmospheric conditions, precursors to earthquakes. He's done a great deal of research in this particular area. We know that Dutch Synths does, he knows a lot on earthquake prediction because he's just observing. And he's done some research, but he doesn't have the technical background that this kind of guy does in the electromagnetics. So somewhere between what Dutch is doing and what I'm doing is the field of where this gentleman is doing, where he's talking about the electrics, that precursors before earthquakes. And so Dutch has touched on that in some of his um, discussions where there's seismic activity underneath power lines. And that very much is a thing that can happen with the high voltages that run through some of these high tension power lines. So I think that personally, I think that that is enough of a reason to do a video on just this one guy and his research, various research teams, and the research he's produced, um, because it specifically relates to this one phenomena that had been at question, and a lot of people that they didn't believe it, or the prevailing logic at back when 30, 40 years ago is that, oh, well, earthquakes are random. You can't predict them. They just happen. They just like magic. They happen all over, as if the whole world everywhere is equally prone to earthquakes. And that actually is not true. That's not correct. That's not actually a fact. Um, you, the predicting earthquakes, Dutch does that with regularity, with a pretty high degree of accuracy. Suspicious Observers has quakewatch.net, where based on solar activity, he's got a pretty high accuracy rating of, predicting earthquake. And so based on the research of, people like, Dr. Freund, there are other ways of detecting earthquakes based on electromagnetics in the atmosphere. So this type of research, this type of how do I say this? Okay, I think the best way to put it is, because of research like this one here, stress induced changes in the electrical conductivity of igneous rocks. Okay, because of that, here's another one: Earth atmospheric coupling during strong earthquakes by analyzing MODIS data. Okay, because of research like this, they are able to justify Italy. A lot of places around Italy as a whole are able to justify the expense necessary to invest in these research stations that measure up to 15,000 hertz, right? Because there are huge spikes that can get released at the time of earthquakes. It's just a little bit there, just a little bit there, not much. But you see along here with, and I've said this before, I've talked about this before, I've explained what Kumyania is and what they do. And this right here is earthquake data, okay? This is seismic. This is a seismic wave right here, and it tells you right here, channel 1 seismic meter, frequency 1 to 30 hertz with top spectrogram. Seismic monitor right here, seismic monitor. That is earthquake. Seismic equals earthquake. Channel 1. That is this right here. Bing, ding, ding. Okay. Channel 2 is the electric field up to 105 hertz. Okay. This right here is up to 105 hertz. All right. So these are showing you the Schumann resonances right here. Bing, 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 bing. Okay. Up to 46, roughly 46 right there. All right. So these sites, and there are many around Italy, these sites are for measuring not just seismic, but also three modes of the electric. The first one is 105 hertz, and then the next two are the VLF monitoring, which is much different than the Schumann resonances because this is going much, much higher. The first one is 1500, and then the next band up is 15,000. So they're measuring atmospheric electromagnetics in a different band than the Schumann resonances and a higher frequency range than the Schumann resonances because it's a different current. It's a different circuit that gets activated during earthquakes than is what happens normally for Schumann resonances, which are, again, just atmospheric hums, if you will recall correctly. All right. So they tell you a little bit more about this station here, and I've done videos on Kumyania, what they do, what they're there for, but it is because of the research, like I said, the research of Professor Freund and his, or Dr. Freund and his team, that give this credibility, that make this make sense, and allow people the ability to pick up signals of earthquakes before they happen. And that's what all this is about. They're not measuring Schumann resonances here. You got to understand that. They're measuring the electrics that happen at the times of stress-induced changes in the electrical conductivity of igneous rocks, which this area here that's all volcanic, all volcanic here. You see flows, large flows of it over the course of time. This is very much volcanic activity over here. This whole entire area over here is seismically active. Right. So that's where this research becomes really super important, is talking about that. Measuring ion currents and electric fields caused by earthquakes, volcanoes, and lightning in the mesosphere. Okay, so these are all research that he has done. All right, so I think we'll pause. We're almost at half an hour. This is a good place to pause before we kind of start moving into the actual material. Let me find music or a mix or something. Hold, please. All right, this seems like a good enough mix, I guess. There's bopping beat and bass on here, so I need music so I can kind of get a break, get a smoke break. I think you all can kind of use a smoke break or drink break or whatever, sanity break. So let's get into some music here. Okay, we're back, sort of, more or less, right? Pause you. You. Okay, so the while the music was playing, that was just a list of the rather esoteric research the guy's done in teams. That's in conjunction with not just himself, but in conjunctions with others. And so the ones that are Alante Diamond, those are he's co-authoring with. You know, those are some of those are he's co-authoring. He's not the lead person on them. He's checking certain aspects of what they're doing, spectrometry or whatever. You know, he's got expertise in a number of areas. So they would ask him for his research on, you know, like, I don't know, mineral characterization. So, however, our interest in this is the positive holes, the peroxy bonds, as is the expression. All right. So, all right. So that was enough of an introduction. Let me start getting into this guy's work from the research end. All right. So I introduced a bunch of stuff just to kill time, I guess. I don't know. So I have, oh, please. Okay. So first one. All right, now it's all centered. This is the video that I had done a year ago, November 1st. Time flies. Almost exactly a year ago. And, you know, I was looking at the video and I'm looking at the shirt that I'm wearing and I'm like, oh, that's the same t-shirt as the one I'm wearing now. Like, wow. It's, as luck would have it. And I'm not sure if it's the same hat, but it may very well be. But the flowers are new. Those are from today. I'm clipping them today. And I have a whole 28 likes on it. Thank you, all 28 of you who have appreciated this. 176 views. All right. I've had worse. I've had not much. All right. So, all right. So this is, I loved this particular article because it talks about rocks that crackle, sparkle, and glow, and a very lively activity, and a bunch of other pre-earthquake phenomena. All right. And so I'm not going to read all of this, but essentially, seismic waves are the most dramatic and most intensely studied manifestations of earthquakes. However, we also know of non-seismic phenomena which precede large earthquakes. So this was a video that I had done where I read through the article, but I also explained the valence electron and what the valence shell is, and where we start getting into the bonding of what the peroxy bonds are. They're at the valence shell, the the molecular electron level. And so it's important to understand what the peroxy bonds are at the valence electron, the valence shell electron level. So that's part of what I had gone into 22 minutes. I had gone into about the valence electron. So did we listen? I think so.
In the formation of a chemical bond, if the outer shell is not closed, in a single covalent bond, both atoms in the bond contribute one valence electron in order to form a shared pair. All right. So this is a covalent bonding. So all 8 spaces are taken up. Okay. All right. So this is stable.
Okay. All
And I'm
right. All right. So you get the picture. Um, uh, the um, the link is in the description. Okay. So that is that's a very interesting video to have. I have music in there, and so um, uh, I had a lot of fun uh, making it more or less. And it's me back in the early days where I was using a different, different way on the screen, and so you see the background scrim is hanging up by hooks and all that. All right, so it's an interesting little historical video. Almost wearing the same thing. Yeah. Um, the black shirt, I still have that. I'm looking right at it, hanging up. All right. Anyway, so this is the first of the research material that I'm talking about, where this is definitely his work. Okay, where we're talking about pre-earthquake phenomena. We're talking about electrons that move through rocks that also create lights, that also have other phenomena associated with pre-earthquake activity. All right. The next one is all right. So this is I think I did. I was going to. All right. I think I was going to do a video on this. I don't think I actually did a video on this. You know what? I had this. This is one of those ones I had intended. I have on the back burner to do a video on. This one is towards a unified solid state theory for pre-earthquake signal. All right. So once again, we're looking for the magic kind of formula, I guess. I'm not sure if there's a better word. The model, certainly a good working model of how to detect earthquakes based on pre-seismic um, elect electrical discharges. Okay, I think that's the best way to put it. There's there are other factors as well involved, and he was talking about he was also talking about earthquake lights. All right. So this one here, I know you can't really read it, but I will read this for you. I'll just read you the abstract. Prior to major earthquakes, and I was planning on doing, like I said, I think I was planning on doing this as a video, and I never got to it. I think I actually, yeah, there it is on the 13th. Where am I? There we go. On the 13th. Sorry about that. I was planning on doing this on the 13th. All right. So I'm a little bit behind, but whatever. All right. And I may still do the video, but I'll just read you through what this says. Abstract. Prior to major earthquakes, EQ, the Earth reportedly sends out transient signals, sometimes strong, more often subtle and fleeting. Magnetic field variations, electromagnetic EM emissions over a wide range of frequencies, radon emanation, atmospheric and ionospheric phenomena. Great uncertainty exists about the origin of such pre-EQ signals, how they are correlated to each other, and the impending seismic event. The discovery of stress-activated electric currents in rocks, and this is research from Freud, Takeuchi, and Lau, physics, chem, earth, I'm not sure what the reference is, provide a possible, the year is 2006, provide a possible explanation. Stresses activate mobile charge carriers in rocks, namely defect electrons in the oxygen anion sublattice, also known as positive holes. They are equivalent to O. Hold on, let's see if I can. Okay, I can't tell what that little signal is there. The oxygen, O in a matrix of O, 2 to the negative power. Oxygen, negatively charged oxygen, already exists in unstressed rocks. however, in a dormant, electrically inactive state as peroxy links. And they're showing you oxygen, silicone, OO, silicon O3, so silicon oxide, where O oxygen are tightly bound together. So the O2, the two oxygens right there are peroxy bonds. Okay, they're stable together. And I just showed you the valences. In the video that I had done earlier, I explained just a brief, basic explanation of what the valence is. You need 8 parts in order for it to be stable. Oxygen of itself has 8, normally has 8 valences, so it's stable. So oxygens, you can miss one electron there, and they'll bond and give you a peroxy bond or an oxide, essentially. Are tightly bound together. Upon stressing, rocks dislocations sweep through the mineral grains. Dislocations which intersect peroxy links instantly break the OO bond. So the oxygen which are stable together, the two oxygens which are stable, break. And so you create electric charge. You create a discharge. It was stable, you break them, creates a charge. They release mobile positive holes which flow down stress gradients. The flow of these carriers constitutes an electric current with attendant magnetic field variations and EM emissions. These charge carriers accumulate at the surface, creating subsurface electric fields strong enough to field ionize air molecules. So it's right above where it is, the field, right above it. At first, only positive airborne ions are produced. Later, with the onset of corona discharges, positive and negative. So there's a field of both positive and negative. The positive holes also recombine at the surface, leading to a spectroscopically distinct IR, infrared, emission seen in laboratory experiments and nighttime infrared satellite images. In addition, the positive holes seem to chemically interact with radon in the soil, affecting the radon emanation. All right, so that's a lot. All right, so I was going to do a video explain more about that. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. But that's some pretty heavy stuff right there. So part of the reason that I kind of bring this up is as I expand out the topic of atmospheric electromagnetics to expand beyond the Schumann resonances. We talk about other, I regularly get on my soapbox and I preach about the unshielded domestic electronics, and that's bad enough, and that is what it is. Okay, that's atmospheric electromagnetics. Okay. There is also what happens with earthquakes and volcanoes, like they're saying. That's another thing altogether. That's different than, it's a different circuit, it's a different thing than solar radiance coming in. They're linked, they're related, they're interrelated in there somehow, but they're different circuits that act, of their own rules, I guess, their own protocols. Right. So, okay, what's going on here? Put myself back in the picture. Why, hello. Okay, all right. Hopefully, I'm good. All right. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you for working through these videos with me. A lot of technical stuff. I try and personalize it. Part of what the music is for is to help kind of kind of help you digest the technical stuff. So, I want to I don't want to play a long musical set, but I want to kind of, keep going with the material, but have music to kind of soothe the hardcore technical stuff. So this is an Aronmix 2/8/2020, and I'm not sure if I've played this. I think I've played it back last year, I think. I'm not sure. But it seemed to have some good poppy kind of music. So, I'm going to play a cigarette break's worth of music, and then we'll get back into the other stuff. All right. Okay, we're back, more or less. Moving on to a new song there. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate everyone. Much love. All right. So, what you're seeing up here is the next article, which it's, this one's one of those really scholarly kind of heavy duty articles. I get something out of this. I don't know how much anyone else does. But it's because I've read a lot on some of it. I've read a lot enough to be able to kind of be fluent in the language, and it's really important that oh, this is all language. It's a vocabulary. It's a vernacular. It is a lexicon unto itself. And I work with people, the average everyday people who are not fluent in this. I work with you so you can understand this as well. It's my goal here, my mission to help this make more sense to you, so that you can follow along when I give this the technical stuff, so it isn't as difficult to comprehend because you know a lot of the background information already, and so you can add to the body of scientific knowledge that you already have and build from it, um, instead of kind of shying away because it's a lot of difficult language. So, Wages talks about this. I talk about this. Some of the other channels, we talk about this as well, of getting to know, and I think Ron Tyler, at Emergency uh, Management, whatever his deal is, I think he's pretty good about educating people on stuff and telling you that you need to be informed as well and do your own research. Um, so my part in this is helping you find the extra research. I have lessons on vocabulary. I talk about the lexicon. I ask you to, give me, questions, ask me specific questions. If I've said something you don't understand, have me go back. You need to interact with me on this in order to really get it. And I'm here not to answer the complicated questions. I want to answer the basic questions. People think they're doing me a favor by giving me some complicated question to answer, and it's not a favor. Please ask me the most basic questions. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to hear from you. And if it doesn't make sense, we got to go back to the point that it does make sense. Because there's a difference between the Schumann resonances and the atmospheric electromagnetics in general, and this is very technical, and this is not something you're going to get overnight, and I don't expect to. And oh, good golly, I'm looking at this from a year ago, and it was over a year ago. It was in June of 2020. I had my first video out, so I've been doing this over 2 years. Schumann, I've been dedicated to the Schumann resonances for 2 years. Because it was in 2019, October 2019, that I started researching that, and this as well, the other side, you know listening into Dutch and the earthquakes and all of that. So this is technical stuff that you're not going to get just overnight. I have 40 plus years experience in radio and electronics, and being interested in the sky and the clouds and all of this stuff. So you have to give yourself time for it to work through the vocabulary and the language to work through. And that's why I do this, that when I run across things that I'm pretty sure you're not going to get, I stop and I explain it in more depth, because I really get something out of that, of taking the really highly technical stuff and breaking it down to you in a way that you can understand in very simple language, and not hiding behind the technical language to make myself look great. Like, no, this isn't clickbait. This is just down to earth learning, really learning of what this technical stuff is. And that is why I'm doing this, so you can learn technically, what's going on with not just the Schumann resonances, but also associate atmospheric electromagnetics. So I'm kind of working through how I want to do this, and there's a lot of articles. There's going to be more than just a part two. There's going to be a number of parts. Probably like an A, B, C, D, and then a part two. 1A, 1B, something like that, or 1.1 or 1.2. I don't know. And then a legitimate part two, which is the fun part. But I want to. This is again, these are two different two sections. Maybe I should have here. There's the introduction of this guy and his research, and I want him to be known for who he is and what he is and what he's done, because it contributes a lot to the difference of understanding of what Schumann resonances are versus atmospheric electromagnetics. Okay, so right here we're at an hour, and I think that's a good place to just end this. Right. And then I will pick up the 1.1 or part B or whatever, however I don't know, whatever system we use. So the next section will start here. I'll discuss this a little bit, and then I'll move on to something more fun. What do I have after that? Oh yeah, that's definitely more fun. Here, where is it? Current, and you can't see it. Current and there it is. Current and surface potential induced by stress activated positive holes in igneous rocks. Now, doesn't that sound a lot more fun than this one here? Ground ground atmosphere ionosphere interactions related to earthquakes. How can EarthScope help? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's the same to you. Either or. I don't know. But anyway, all right. So the next video will pick up right here where this one left off, and we'll just go right into it. This is my introduction. I've introduced enough and jabbered on enough. All right. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate everyone for being here. Much love and support. Thank you all. I don't think I'm doing this as a premiere. I think I'm just going to post it out there, and then maybe do some of the other ones as a premiere. I don't know. But I don't think this one is going to be a premiere. Anyway, much love. Thank you all. The master.